Alright, so this guy had an old man for a neighbor that really hated anything on his lawn. People, pigeons, rocks, you name it. But most things, like pigeons and rocks, don't really know what to do if you start telling it to get off your lawn. So he decided to try to fight the pigeons, ended up fighting a neighbor instead, and got arrested. I just thought it was crazy. I thought it was an insane story time, so I thought you guys would enjoy it, but without further ado, let's go.
Nice rack and her ass Brazilian. Just turned 21, but my bank's a million.
Okay, so the person who sent this in to me just titled it, "My Neighbor Got Arrested," but he opens it up by saying that he lived in a neighborhood that was usually really friendly. Like, all the neighbors had kids, all the kids got along, so all the parents were cool with all the kids type of vibe, but there was one old man on his street who was especially grumpy. I'm talking Jim Carrey Grinch levels of grumpy, just so angry at the world you would have thought that the patch notes for the last update specifically nerfed this guy. Just an angry old man, and he hated anything on his lawn. He was so over the top about it though that like even when pigeons would land on his lawn, he would go out there and start trying to fight them. Which is such a funny visual. I just feel like pigeons are so much smaller than humans that the idea of like a fully grown man trying to run after one and fight one is so outrageous. That's the equivalent of like seriously trying to fight a guinea pig. I mean, I guess you could, but why? It just doesn't really matter. Not to mention, they lived kind of close to the city, and pigeons are just gonna happen, bro. Like, if you live close to the city, pigeons are going to land on your lawn. No matter how much you go out there and try to chase them and fight them, they're always gonna fly away. They have that ability, and they're not really gonna care. They're just gonna keep landing on your yard. I love this guy. He just thinks that by getting mad, he can outthink and outmaneuver the sky rat. Pigeons are known as the rats of the sky for a reason. It's not because they're reasonable and easy to work with. You can't make them sign a Geneva Convention, pal. It was a pretty fruitless effort. Pigeons would keep landing on his lawn, so a couple times a day, the neighborhood just got to listen to this old guy freaking out, telling the birds to get off his lawn, and they wouldn't get off his lawn because they're birds. They don't really care too much about what old people say. But he would really go nuts on these things. It's not like he would go out there and just shoo them away because he didn't like the way that they pooped on his rocks or whatever. No, he would go out there like screaming, full on max volume drill sergeant yelling about how the pigeons needed to respect his property, trying to reason with them, because we all know pigeons are great at that. Even if animals could think, like, bear with me here, let's pretend that we live in some weird Zootopia world where animals do have thoughts. Pigeons would be the dumbest animal, or one of them. They would not be up there on the hierarchy of animal intelligence in my mind. So he would go out there and yell at these pigeons to respect his property rights. Dude, it's a bird. It doesn't speak English, and even if it did, it would probably be too dumb to understand it. I feel like pigeons have to have a brain the size of something smaller than a walnut, whatever, like a cashew. We're gonna keep the nut comparison though, because I feel like that's a good way to say someone's got a small brain. Oh yeah, I've got a brain the size of about 8.5 walnuts. Like, watch that still be insultingly small. If that's the case, then that's even funnier. Whatever, he would come out and start screaming at the pigeons, would like punch the ground, try to hit the pigeons. So whenever he would come outside, most of the neighborhood kids would just go inside and hang out for a little bit. It wasn't that their parents told them that they weren't allowed to be around him, but he would just start screaming, swearing at pigeons, punching the ground, and the little kids would get kind of scared of it, so everyone would just go inside. And he was so unself-aware, he didn't even notice. You know you're causing chaos in the neighborhood if you come outside and everyone else in the street leaves. I would feel so bad about myself after a bit. It's good he didn't notice. He probably wouldn't have cared anyways. That's why he's on the story time. But man, that would really hurt. Like, imagine there's a huge block party. Everybody out there is barbecuing, having a great time laughing. You come outside, they pack up their grills and leave. The ego bruising would be massive. That would be traumatic. The person who sent this into me, though, is outside one day riding his bike. He had set up a few jumps. He's just doing his thing, and all of a sudden, the old man comes outside, and he starts getting concerned because he looks and he sees that there is 3 pigeons on this guy's lawn. But he doesn't really want to go inside. He's really into what he's doing. He's in a rhythm, so he decides to just wait it out and hope that the old man doesn't notice. But sure enough, he walks up to the pigeons and starts screaming at them, You guys need to get off my lawn. You're not paying the mortgage around here. Until you guys pay the bills, you can't be on my lawn. Yep, that's right. I'm sure the pigeons are going to come back with a check written for the exact amount to pay the mortgage. What would you do if they did that? Then you couldn't tell them to leave anymore. What would you do all day? I don't get old people like this. Like, you worked for the last 57 years. You're retired now. You can do whatever you want. The sky is literally the limit. If you want to go to the beach every day, all day, then you can do it. You're retired now. And instead, what you decide to do is just sit and watch your lawn and wait for birds to come so you can yell at them. Man, you spent 57 years working to do this? I'm not saying you should usually judge people's life choices, but if someone chooses to spend their retirement doing something this dumb, I feel like you're allowed to go, what a waste, what a waste. Either way, he starts screaming at the birds that they need to pay the mortgage. The birds don't really know what that means, so they're just looking at him, not moving. So he goes into his garage, and he starts rifling around his toolbox, and he's rifling around his toolbox so loudly that the subscriber, who's on the road on his bike, but he can still hear the tools clanging together as he's going through them, and he comes back out, and he's waving a hammer over his head, like he's trying to roleplay as Thor, but he didn't have time to make a really good cosplay, so he just went to Harbor Freight and picked up a hammer instead. And he starts waving the hammer and says that if they don't move, he's gonna use the hammer to make them move. I don't know in his head if he thought that they were going to reply. He's got like some weird Dr. Dolittle thing going on where everybody watching the situation doesn't think that they're replying, but the pigeons are just taunting him. Whatever, man, you think we're afraid of a hammer? Dude, ha ha ha, you old man. Every time you come out here, we take another poop on your lawn. Like, maybe that's why he's going crazy, is he is being taunted by these pigeons. Whatever, he has this hammer waving around his head, telling the pigeons to move, and they don't move, because they are birds, and they do not care about words. This guy is probably a huge proponent. You know that conspiracy theory that like the birds are all made by the government to spy on everyone? Maybe that's what he believes. That's why he gets so mad. Oh, the CIA is sending more birds to spy on me, Sharon. I've got to go fight them. And his wife is like, please do not go fight the birds again. The birds don't move, he's got his hammer, and he has to follow through with his threat. So he reaches his arm back, and it looks like he's gonna throw the hammer, but he must have never played baseball when he was younger during the Great Depression, because when he throws the hammer, it doesn't even go near the birds, it sails way high, like a solid 5 feet line above their heads. And it goes across the street, and it was a weekend, so it was pretty packed in terms of parking, and it goes straight through the driver's side window of a car. And there's this moment of silence where, like, everybody, it's just him, the old man, and the pigeons, doesn't move, doesn't do anything, because they're just taking in the fact that the hammer went through the window. And then all the birds leave, so I guess he got that. He just ended up breaking the window. But instead of going over and trying to figure out whose car it is and make it right and apologize or whatever, the old man just goes inside, assuming he was gonna like go hide or something. I don't know, just pretend he didn't do it. And about like 20 minutes later, the driver comes outside and starts freaking out that his driver window's broken. Looks around, sees the kid, is like, did you see anything? And the kid's not gonna lie. So he tells him, yeah, it was that guy. And so he goes over and they're looking at the damage, and the hammer is still in the car, and they pick up the hammer, and this old man was dumb enough to write his full name on it so they know it's really his hammer. And they go over, he doesn't go over, the guy whose car it is goes over and knocks on the door, and the old man answers and is like, what do you want? You broke my window, you gotta pay for this, like someone's gotta fix this, I gotta drive to work. No, I didn't do it, I didn't break it, I had nothing to do with it. Wow, weird to try to deny it when they found a hammer with your name on it, right? So he pulls out the hammer with his name on it, and the old man's like, yeah, that's not mine, I had nothing to do with it. And so he tells the old man, like, listen, if you just pay to fix it, we're good, but if you keep trying to deny that it's yours when I have a hammer with your name on it, like, I'm gonna call the cops. And the old man starts screaming back that he can go ahead and call the cops, there's no way the cops would arrest him, da-da-da-da-da. So he does what he has to do and calls the cops. He didn't have the money to fix a windshield. Like, that's an expensive fix. Windshields are $500-600. I don't know. It's been a while since I've had to fix a windshield. But last time I did it, like $500-600. It's not something you just want to have to pay for, especially when it's someone who threw a hammer at it. So the cops come out and he explains everything, shows them the hammer, and they're like, yep, that is definitely what went down here. There's no way to get around it. It literally has his name on it. And at that point, the subscriber, who was younger at the time, decides he's going to go inside. He doesn't really know what's going to go down, but he's just not trying to be outside. So he goes inside and starts explaining to his parents everything that happened. And they say, yeah, probably a good idea to come inside. We'll see what goes down. And he doesn't hear anything for a few days, but he ends up asking his mom a little bit later. And apparently he had started arguing with the cops that it wasn't his fault and the person just shouldn't have parked on the other side and trying to fight with them and whatnot. And he ended up getting himself a one-way ticket downtown. All because of some pigeons on his lawn, bro. Like, I just don't really get it. It wasn't me. It was not me. It's not my hammer. Well, it has your name on it. That's weird. I don't know. Someone must have stolen my hammer, thrown it through your car window across the street from my house to try to frame me. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I'd appreciate y'all taking a second to press the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. And of course, subscribe if you're new. Turn on those notifications. If you want to listen to the audio, I do post it over on Spotify, link down below. I'm bringing this back, something the really OG fans will remember, the comment of the day. So thank you for commenting. Appreciate y'all. There's also going to be a link to the intro song down below, and if you missed the old reaction content I used to do on the other channel, I've been doing a podcast on my third channel, Scrub A, so feel free to go check that out. But yeah, on that note, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. Hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. I'm out. Peace.